you? So look, I got a book coming out. If you're at the all access tier on Patreon, you can download all my books, and this one will be available too. So I wanted to make the announcement and then do a little lesson on it. So that's what I got going on today. But so it's about 230 pages or something, and I have the first 140 pages edited. So I'm going to make those available first. That's chapter 1 through 20. The rest of the chapters are going to come in a month or so, okay? But it's all about chords. It's called Harmonic Concepts. And if you know anything about my books, I usually start from 0 and go all the way to like 1,000, okay? So this book is going to be no different. Starting with the first maybe 5 chapters are just triads. And that might seem a lot, but it's very thorough, right? And then it goes all the way to like, 13 flat 9 and 13 sharp 9 and all the different kinds of chords that we have available, all right? Now, when I started playing guitar, when I went to college, I couldn't keep up in the big band because the chords were difficult. I didn't know how to play them, so I got a big book with all these chords in it. And that's a stupid idea. That doesn't work for anything because it doesn't tell you how to use them. And anybody who plays good chords knows that how you pick a chord depends on what comes before and what comes after, right? So you have to see them in applications, or it doesn't make much sense just having a bunch of chords at your disposal. So anyways, I'm just going to do a little lesson and show you how it works, okay? So anyways, I'll make the PDF for this lesson available as I usually do. But the book, you have to join up at that $10 tier. And I don't really care if you do that and then you switch back again. It doesn't really bother me. But I mean, it took me like 3 or 4 years to get this book together. So you just have to kind of keep that in mind, okay? Anyways, so getting on with my story here. So I start with just the cage system, which everybody sort of maybe knows already. So when we talk about caged, which is really a good place to start, we're really talking about octave shapes, okay? And you should keep that in mind as we do this. Like C shape, A shape, the G, E, and then the D shape. And that's what we got. So, but to make it even simpler, what you start off by doing is you take one shape at a time, see? Use your first finger as the capo. That's C, right? So D would be like this. The A shape we know already. Right? G becomes difficult, right? Because this is it. So you can see it's hard. But a lot of times we make it easier just by playing the middle voicing, which is nice. Right, that's the G shape. It's like this. Next, the E shape we know already. And then the last one is the D shape. So remember, you're going like this. But there's like sort of a hack for this chord. Watch, this would be the D form E chord, right? Take this finger off, replace it with your third finger, and put this one over here. And you have a variation, and this is a really beautiful chord. And there's different variations, for instance, that E chord. This is a variation on that. Nice too. So anyways, in each chapter goes through a little section with just exercises, not so musical, but exercises that shows like a lot of moves that you would get, and by repeating them, it just helps your fingers remember the shapes of the chords and makes it easy. So the first one I have, which is on page 8 in chapter 1, goes like this. Okay, next, so let me turn the page here. Now, there's lots of these, so I can only, like, if I did the whole chapter, I'd be here for an hour and a half, because I do it in my college class, and it takes an hour to get through a chapter at least. Okay, so next, I go through just like useful or common progressions that you might want to try these different kinds of triad voicings. For instance, instead of going, which is probably the way most, amateur guitar players would play it, you can be more interesting by using the A form, and then this is the E form C chord. Now, why is it good? Because, see, it's in the same proximity, which means the common tones are going to stay the same, and that's what you're looking for. That's where a lot of the magic happens. G. Okay, so there's lots of these kinds of exercises. And remember, this is just chapter 1. So it means good for, if you want to brush up on your triads, but also good if you want to use it for your students, right? So anyways, next, I talked about this already, but here is like the D form. This is an E chord, right? So remember, I told you we can go like this, right? So look this is the exercise for that one. Okay, good, right? Now, when you look at the minor one, that's kind of, it's hard to grab right away. Right, you got to go. This is the voicing that you hear like in, of course, he uses a capo, but like Here Comes the Sun. Right, so you can see how these get used. Okay, so now we're going, so we're skipping, we're going to go, we have tons of exercises just involving these, but then we get into not the major and the minor triads, we get into diminished. And so I sort of, wondered about this a little bit, because diminished triads are not that common, but for the sake of being thorough, I think it's important to discuss it. And so when I, of course I go through the exercises, but when I go into the example part, I try to think of ways that these could be useful, even though you don't see them so much. And one way, diminished triads are not that common in popular music. The seventh chords are, not the triads, but they're common in like classical music, right? Before like seventh chords became the thing. So I wrote a little etude like this. Right? So, I mean, if you're in a situation where somebody was, asking for some kind of thing that sounds classical or whatever, these are the kinds of things that you might want to do. And you'll notice how I used almost all the voicings that we do to this point in that little etude, okay? Okay, next up, we go into augmented triads, okay? And augmented triads are generally used as 5 chords, right? So here's the etude for that one. Okay, so, it shows you how these chords get used in somewhat common situations, right? Then we get into, okay, so after major and minor, diminished and augmented, we get into sus chords. I think sus chords are also triads because there's only 3 notes, right? And the exercises, again, are sort of typical examples. But, the thing that's interesting about sus chords is that they can also be, usually we associate it like this, right? But they work for minor chords too. What happened there? See, you have to read the text because it's complicated, but there's perfect fourth in those first three chords. But the fourth chord has a sharp four, so you can't do a sus. It's got to be like a suspended sharp four. But that's useful to know because if you want to experiment and put the sus, a perfect fourth on the four chord, it's not going to really work because it's not in the key, okay? Okay, so these are just like little tidbits of information that might be useful for you. So again, now how do you put it in good use? Okay, so in common situations, sus chords. And so then I go through, several pages of examples. That's chapter 6. Okay, so now we're into seventh chords, right? So next we get into diminished seventh chords, and there's lots of different applications, but I'm just going to give one here. These will function as like a dominant chord. So instead of going, like for instance, like C major 7, A7, D minor 7, we're going to use the diminished chord that's a half step below the chord we're going to. That's common in a lot of music. Okay, so that's page 92. Anyway, so the PDF is 140 pages. When I add in the other chapters, it'll be up to more like, I don't know, 220, 30 pages or something, right? All right, so that's what I got. Now remember, I'll put together the PDF for this lesson, but also if you want to get the entire book, which has tons and tons of exercises, and diagrams and explanations on how these chords generally get used, you can get that at the all access tier of Patreon. All right? Okay, I'll see you around.